All right. So we are live recording. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Happy, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us. Thank you for joining us for the OSINTCurious project. We've got a number of people on here, and we'll get into some stuff. So thank you for all the panelists that are here, all the attendants that are here. My name is Michael James, or Ginsberg 5150, and we'll just kind of go around and introduce everybody. So Dutch, why don't you start it off there?
Hi, Dutch House Guy here.
There you go. Technisette?
Hi, it's Technisette. Welcome, everybody.
Sector?
Hi, good morning, evening, wherever you are. Sector 035 here.
Kirby?
And Curbster, yeah. So, hello, welcome, everybody.
That's good. All right, and Badass?
Hi, I'm Katelyn. Badassbowden on Twitter. Kind of just sitting in today.
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time and coming on and stuff. So yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. So we are going to get into this kind of episode of it, starting off with some news here. I will go through and share the screen of death, and then we'll see how all that stuff works out from there. Share? Okay, here we go. All right, yes. First things up, Twitter getting rid of precise geolocation, although maybe some of it remains in the post. Who wants to talk about this a little bit?
Well, I think it's just the last thing we didn't need, because once again something gets shut down and we get put in the blind again. But to be honest, geotagging within tweets, it was only like 2 to 8% at max, and now they're removing it. So in my personal experience, I haven't come across that much of a good hit ratio, but there's one thing that's remaining in there. It will be geotagging within pictures. They will stay for now, but yeah, it's yet again something we're going to lose in the OSINT landscape.
So is this, so you're saying more in images and stuff like that, so the EXIF data is still going to be there for geolocation and all that, correct?
No, there's no EXIF data.
Oh,
It's just when you post a picture, you can geotag it to a specific place.
I see. So you can manually, because I thought all that stuff was already scraped from Facebook and Twitter and all the other social networks. They took all that metadata stuff out. But okay, yeah.
Right.
So we also have kind of seen this where I know like Beowulf and a couple of people were playing with this, where you could manipulate the geolocation, the manual geolocation stuff, and say that you were in Egypt or you were in Russia and you're posting stuff. I know back a couple of years ago that was a fun thing.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no on that, because if you go, you can pull geotags out of the API, and the ones where you kind of fake where you're at, they don't have geotags. But the ones that have real precise location would have actually GPS geotags.
Hmm.
And so you get those from like TinfoLeak or from Creepy or from actually Microsoft Flow as well. And so that's where I find that I'm going to lose stuff, because I do find enough people who have it voluntarily on that we can have good examples for every single class.
Sure. So,
but,
sorry,
can I ask you a question? You said you have good examples as just merely as examples, or do you come across it in, let's say, a percentage of, let's say, if you grab 100 accounts, what's the hit ratio? Because in my experience, I rarely get a good hit when it comes to geotagging.
Yeah, I would say the percentage is not great. It might be like 2 or 3%. But here's when we're using it. It's not necessarily like here's our crook and we're being able to track him, because this is voluntarily. They have to turn it on. So it's more like if there's an event happening, I can find people who really are there to follow.
Yeah, I've used that for especially for instance, a use case I've used that in was tracking hooligans. And they were like in a group of like 400 hooligans, and 1 or 2 were having geolocation turned on. Well, then you can keep track of the whereabouts of the group, for instance.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So like again, yeah, if you can get 1 or 2 to have it on in a crowd like that, and again, for me, it's more like a disaster happens, and I want to, or not even a disaster. Maybe it's like some kind of crime scene or something, and somebody's there, so I know that their pictures are real.
Yeah. Yeah, falsification of all that stuff, whatever, that's true. I know, like, when we had the riots kind of in Ferguson and St. Louis, a lot of the stuff was geotagged to that area, so it was a lot easier to go through and keep up with, the events that were happening prior to, mainstream news getting a hold of all that stuff. That's where I was getting a lot of the information. So, and events-based stuff, yeah. So how does that, how does this, if it does at all, affect a tool like EchoSec or anything else that does geographic location-based, mass int stuff?
Well, the thing is, they're not going to completely remove it. They will still, if you look further up in this article, they will keep the geotagging available for Twitter. The only thing is you will have to manually turn it on via the new, I think it's a camera app that is going to be included with Twitter. So there will still be some geotagged posts and tweets, but it will get more rare.
Okay. Well, it's something else to look out for. I know most of the kind of landscape of OSINT right now is kind of changing in terms of paid tools going away, and things being either added or taken away from some of the stuff that we've known for the last couple of years there. So it's something else to look forward to. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on? Good? Okay. All right. So the next thing that we wanted to go through and talk about was Daniel Messler's. He's got a new blog post out and a new tool, it looks like, called AMAS, Automated Attack Surface Mapping. Anybody else want to go through and talk a little more about that?
Yeah, the tool isn't really that new. It has been posted on OWASP for quite a while, but it is constantly updated, and it is just what the name says it all. It's a mass recon tool. It can scan lots of things, your outer perimeter for your company, for instance, and it's got a whole list of things, and it automates a lot of things that pen testers really like to see in a report before they really start working. So, really cool tool. If you are into pen testing, you probably already know it, and if not, something to look into, especially when you work in IT and do some OSINT.
Absolutely. Have you played with this versus mass scan or anything?
I have played with a mass a few times, but that's quite a while ago. Yes, I've also played with mass scan, but this goes a little bit further. Mass scan, you can do a big port scan, for instance, and identifying some stuff. Well, you already browse through this here. It can automatically query certificate databases. You can scrape stuff. You can DNS records in and everything. So it's a little bit more than just a mass scanner.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I have not played with this, so this will be fun to get into. But yeah, I see where it does have the ability to go through and query for the certificates, scraping, web archives and things like that. So yeah, as opposed to Nmap or mass scan, stuff like that, or whatever, I didn't know if this was kind of an evolution of, or something that was building in like Census.io and Shodan and all those other ones. It looks like it's kind of trying to incorporate a lot of those things into kind of a singular tool device.
Yep.
I haven't seen Dogpile in a long time, actually. That's funny.
We'll put a link to this in the show notes, right, for those who are on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yep. We've got so we've got the blog post by Daniel, and then we've got the link for the GitHub as well. And the GitHub link I have. Come on now. All right, computer. Let's see. So yeah, it's just github.com/OWASP. And then AMAS, AMASS. So if anybody wants to go through and check it out, who is on the podcast there. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns, anything else on that one?
No, nothing.
Okay. So the next topic is there's a new tool for TikTok. There's a quick search out here from OSINT Combine. OSINT Combine always coming out with, or at least the site is very, very, very good stuff. I know they were the ones who were kind of hosting the other Facebook graph or the search graph stuff too. So,
yeah, I really like this because it has a friendly user interface and it makes you take a quick look on TikTok, which has becoming a more and more popular platform. I don't know how big it's growing in over in the United States, but here in Europe, it's definitely taking a big portion out of the social media landscape. I think it's even surpassing Snapchat by now. For certainly, I see most of the youngsters between, let's say, 10 and 25 tipping from Instagram to TikTok, even more and more. So it's a really valuable source to look into for specific research questions.
Yeah, it's really big in the U.S. as well. I've been looking a lot at it, although I don't have any cases that have been leading me there yet. I'm sure that some of them do. We just don't know.
I've had 2 or 3. It were similar things like these mass riots or large scale fires, wildfires, nature fires, and then you'll get people filming it in a TikTok-ish way, because normally it's more like it's based on filters and like these short GIF short clips. It's more like a hipster thing, but they use it for let's say live event filming.
Oh, good point. There are a lot of live feeds going on there now.
Yeah.
So like microblogging type things where people just going through and having them follow through that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yes and no. It's kind of like Vine with more like lip syncing, but that's kind of like the viral content. But it's live. It's got a live feed, like Instagram has live and YouTube has live and Facebook has live and whatever. TikTok does as well, and it's so popular, and I see a lot of stuff going live, and that would be one of those cases where you either have to follow someone or be searching for someone to see when they're live, and it's not going to be archived. Really?
Okay. And just like Snapchat when it came out, it's only mobile based right now, right? Is there a TikTok like web or browser based TikTok?
Oh yeah, you can get everything almost in the browser right now. It just doesn't have a good search, which is why OSINT Combine here is helping you, because this is going to launch you to the browser version of it. I use Google OK on it, but this may go actually into TikTok's own search, which again not available in their browser based version yet.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Mika made a nice 10-minute OSINTCurious post on it on our YouTube channel on how to grab videos from TikTok, from the
web. Yeah,
the web. It could be useful.
Nice. Katelyn, have you used anything or seen anything with TikTok? Do you guys have anything you guys try to go through and use on that side of that?
We've actually mostly just had victims from TikTok. Honestly, we've seen a lot of predatory behavior on there. Anyone that's listening that has kids, do not let them use this app. Yeah, because it seems like there's a lot of guys on there that are just on there to talk to the 14, 15-year-olds. And it's just, I don't know. Any app that is going to be lax on their age limit is going to have issues.
Yeah. Okay.
When you come into these cases, how do you preserve this data? Because I think it's really important, especially when you're helping these kids out who are being victims. You want to preserve the data for instance, law enforcement or prosecution. How you do that?
Well, we haven't had anything yet that has been anything that we can prosecute criminal-wise. Mostly we just have had complaints for harassment, things like that. And then we help talk them through that. Like we mostly deal with image-based abuse, but a lot of times we do get hit up by victims of harassment or stalking or people that send will send somebody a picture. Thus far, we haven't had any cases that have been transferred. We haven't had anything to preserve, if that makes sense.
Okay.
What I would direct you guys to, though, just to see kind of what's going on, if you haven't seen this stuff like Katelyn maybe have seen, is to go to YouTube and search for TikTok predator. Because there are people calling them out.
Okay, interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's something to be aware of, at least. Sorry, now I'm checking it out.
You're checking it out?
I might be. All right, let's see. Okay, so yeah, TikTok shirts, very cool. I'm gonna have to go through and actually get into that stuff because I've really not played with a lot of TikTok. I think I installed it on one of my burner accounts, whatever, a while ago. But it just asks you to go through and follow all these people, and then like I was trying to go through the stuff, and I didn't really have a use case for it. But now I can see where there could be some of the stuff that may be kind of on the darker side. So I'll have to get into that, check that stuff out. Okay, awesome. Speaking of kind of the dark side of things, my awesome transitions. Okay, so dark light. Has anybody worked or seen anything with that? Dark light is a new kind of dark web search engine. Authorized members belong to law enforcement, military forces, cyber security stuff, and then, oh, thank you. Beowulf, thank you for that comment. I appreciate that. Okay, so this is a new search engine. We've seen kind of a lot of tools that are going to come back out for deep web dark search stuff. We had dark light. We have, what was the dark search, which was the first kind of search engine for that stuff. Has anybody looked at or worked with this dark light stuff?
Not at all yet.
Nope.
Not yet. I will later.
So they do have a forward-facing kind of web search, and you have to have an invitation. It's invitation only for their kind of browser-based UI stuff. They also do have a GitHub repo, so they allow you to go through and use the engine on your local device. If you want to put it on bare metal, you can go through and try to do it that way. I've not installed it because I literally just found it yesterday, so I've not had time to actually play with it, but it's yet another search that is kind of dominating the Twitter spheres for dark int or deep web search stuff. So it's something else to be aware of. If you want to go through and check it out online, the URL is darklight.kr.
And KR is like, isn't that South Korea or something?
So yep.
It wonders me. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of times when even. When you're making up the URLs and stuff like that, it's not necessary for you to go through and be in that country to go through and register that domain there. So, but it's something. Let's see here. So that was one of the things I wanted to bring up, just because I thought it was interesting that it was a forward-facing dark web search that is specifically targeting members of law enforcement, military, and cyber. And I've never heard of these people. I don't have any real backstory. It's coming out of Korea, so it's a foreign entity. So at this point, they're not asking for a lot of invite codes to be spread around. This could almost be an awesome phishing campaign to go through and get.
You said it. I was thinking exactly the same thing.
I'm always going to go with the attack side stuff at this point. Just to say, okay, well, I'm gonna open this up and I'm going to help the LEO space, and then just harvest data, just take all that stuff. So. Yeah. It's something to verify prior to maybe going into, but it's out there, and it's something we should at least try to verify.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Dutch, why don't you go through and take this one? You kind of brought this up, and I saw the Twitter post that you had about this. This is for the ad library for Facebook, which is awesome.
Yeah, I came across it because I was looking and exploring for new search options in Facebook, because the original graph we all loved to use was down. And I was looking through Facebook just documents, and I came across a reference to Facebook ads, and you can go through the ad library. A lot of countries are in there. United States, of course, a lot of European countries, a lot of South American countries, but what I really liked about it, you just type in, for instance, a name of a politician, of a brand, for instance, and then you'll see which ad campaigns are connected to that specific account. So if you click on Trump, what you're doing now, you typed in Trump, and you found his Facebook page, and then you'll see each and every ad connected, which is paid for through that account. And it can give you some really good insights on political campaigns or campaigns by certain parties. I was looking into those cryptocurrency companies, for instance, and you see them like disinfo ad targeted campaigns to counterpart the other parties who are also into the crypto campaign. So if you're, for instance, on Dogecoin, and then you'll see the Digibyte coin trying to mock or make fun of the Dogecoin in targeted ad campaigns. So you if you know a little bit about ad campaigns, you can target an audience based on their interests or whereabouts, or maybe even their Wi-Fi connectivity. And here, for instance, you see on which date, which ad campaign was posted where. And you can also see when you look into I think it's when you scroll all the way down, you see how much they've paid for each ad campaign. So it also says something about somebody's or someone campaign holder's wallet and why they want to do this. So this can be really useful for investigative works. It will also show you active and inactive ads. The inactive ads will probably be historic ads. But you can also filter it by country. So if you want to know if Trump is campaigning in Russia, for instance, could be interesting. But keep in mind, these are connected to Facebook accounts, and not every Facebook account is necessarily connected to the actual person you're looking at. So you need to verify. Yeah. But still, I think it's worth it to look for certain research cases.
I love this. Mm-hmm. I think this is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really excited when I found it at first. I've been playing with this like for I think 2 days now, just to look around, and I'm also looking in the source code or in the URL, trying to figure out if there are additional things I can juggle with to gain even more insights. But until now, it's not that much that I found extra from just the GUI interface, but give me some time. Maybe I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So this was only for the pages on Facebook, not for the profiles, right?
It's also profiles. You can search for
also
a person
profiles.
also.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just search on Facebook and it gives you a hit. And then, if that certain profile has an ad campaign, then it will show.
Cool.
But keep in mind, not all countries of the world are in there, but a lot of them, the major countries, are in there.
Yeah. And just from a tagging for business interest or tracking money type of thing, you can see here the inactive campaigns. Even who this Dan Forrest, he's promoting something from the committee to elect Dan Forrest. So you may be able to go through and to tie certain entities or businesses to political parties or even activists or anything else like that. I know there was some other stuff I was looking at yesterday, the day before on there, about some rescue issues and things like that, and seeing what other companies or third parties are promoting these ads, and then how much money they're putting towards that stuff. It's helpful. I mean, even on the ones we have up on the screen here, these were posted and paid for by Comedy Central for Donald Trump. It's interesting to go through and kind of see what portion of what budget for what's either media outlet or whatever it is going to go through and try to attach itself to the issue that you're looking at. So it is a way, that you can kind of get a real loose association, but it may be a pivot point for an investigation, especially if you're into, economic forensics or, tracking stuff through OSINT for money. So.
Yeah, but keep in mind when we were just talking about that Deep Nude app, for instance, let's think of it as if I was the bad guy, I could push my app or program through Facebook ads to a certain group of interest, maybe young girls or young guys. And, well, it could be a dangerous tool also. So, there are various ways you can research on this platform. So we're not done with this.
Excellent point. Good point. Okay. Anything else on ad library? Good?
Yeah, good to go.
All right, let's see. So the next thing I wanted to get to in the news, Trace Labs. Trace Labs does OSINT for Good. We've talked about them on here before because I know I've run the CTF out of the B-Sides, Kansas City, and I ran the CTF out of Layer 8, which was very successful, a lot of fun. Trace Labs does OSINT for Good. They find the local law enforcement and they work with them to look for missing people that are very, very open, fresh cases. So a lot of the stuff that we've worked on in the past has been less than 4 weeks old, which gives you, relatively high success to go through and find flags in regards to the CTF efforts, and then also maybe to pass along some of that stuff for law enforcement agencies. They are, I think, July 13th on here is their second global missing persons CTF. It is $10 to enter. I think it's like $11.50 or something after the sales tax and all that stuff if you have to pay that. But this is an opportunity for people to go through and get into teams and kind of work those OSINT muscles and see what you can do in regards to OSINT for Good type platform. So just wanted to give them a little shout out. I think they do really good work. It's an excellent team, and they seem to be having a lot of fun with this and stuff. Has anybody else done anything with the Trace Lab stuff?
No, not yet. I was really planning on looking into it, but since this is a global one, I'll have to look in my agenda if I can schedule it in. Can you explain a little bit more on how they do a global CTF? Is it like this, like we do this webcast? You can see each other, or is it just by text chat to communicate?
So what they do is their platform is twofold. They have the CTF platform where you get all of the quote-unquote targets and any of the challenges or any of the flags you're trying to go through and find. So that is their CTF board. And then the way that you actually communicate is through their Slack. So they have a Slack instance where they go through and put that up, and people join under the team names, the usernames, and then an email address. So just be warned, if you are an OPSEC, very serious person, you do have to go through and give them a username, an email address, and a team name. You can have teams as big or as small as you want. You can go lone wolf with it, but you have to go through and give them something because they have to be able to attribute points to it. So once you submit a flag onto the CTF board there, and then you have any questions, you can actually interact with the judge that actually is measuring your information on their Slack channel. So there's the admin side, and then there's the player side. And so it's very, very well run. The only thing that we've had real problems with is trying to get everyone up and running, and that's only been at physical locations. And since this is not a physical location, everything is going to be online. It should actually go a lot smoother. So, yeah.
Well, I really like the OSINT for Good idea. Just find missing persons, and especially when they're doing it globally. Now, I'm really interested on the results on the end of the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, the two that I have been honestly gracious enough to go through and be able to run, we've had 100% success rate in both cases where we found someone who they were actually looking for both times. So of the 8 people that we've looked for, both in the B-Sides Kansas City and in Layer 8, in both instances there was a true confirmation of one of the persons actually being found. So
that's awesome.
Whether that be through a Facebook post or whether that be through communications through the parents or friends or something, being like, hey, they're out there, we just want to let everybody know. And it was almost always, it was funny, it's almost always less than 20 hours old when we find the stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah,
really cool.
I think this might be our first Badass Army CTF, because this is really, really cool.
It is. It is super, super fun. And the points range from, just getting, family or friends or other, notables, first, second, third degree relatives in regards to where they are. So it spans from 10 points to 5,000 points, and you really can get a huge amount of stuff. And it's so awesome to see, the teams that are alive, that are there, kind of battling for position, and it's all for tangible evidence that they can go through and pass on to law enforcement. But it's awesome to see them kind of climb on top of each other, work together, and use the tools that we have in OSINT to go through and actually try to parse this stuff out. There was literally somebody, and I won't drop names or anything, but there was somebody who submitted a flag that was 5G. It was 5 gigs big, and it was because it was a data dump from dhash, and they tried to the entire 5 gig as a flag, and the judges were impressed, but also like we're not going like so. Just the level of creativity that people use to go through and to identify this stuff it's awesome.
Yeah, and inspirational also. Yeah.
Yes, it's very cool. I will continue to sing their praises in regards to a lot of that stuff, and I've been very, very humbled that I've been able to go through and work with them as much as I have. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, badass CTF. I know TinkerSec yesterday was also talking about CTFs and how it's one thing in InfoSec that regardless of how much experience you do or don't have, it's something that everyone can do, because even if you only come away learning something, that's more actionable information than it is that if you hadn't done it. So it's something that is relatively either free or inexpensive to go through and do. You can sign up with people you want, or you can do it by yourself and just, fall down the entire time. But as long as you're learning something moving forward, gaining kind of that actionable intelligence and experience, it's something that's very, very beneficial. I know even in the old days with the Slack group that we used to have, which is the OSINT or open.OSINT Slack. I know when DEF CON came out with their OSINT CTF, a lot of us got together and played that as well, and it was a lot of fun. But it was an organized event where we could actually all kind of get together and bounce our specific skill sets up against what the flags were, and so it was something to do. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So in talking with the Deep Nude app, we'll kind of go over a little bit of that stuff. Who wants to go through and talk more about that stuff there?
I can.
Awesome.
All right. So a few days ago, there was a big story about the Deep Nudes. This guy has actually been around for a couple months. He's been shopping this around to various press outlets, and it hit Vice, and it got picked up really quickly by BBC, The Independent, The Guardian, and basically it overloaded his server, according to him. And what this technology is all you have to do is enter one photo in, and the API will just delete the clothing off the photo. And it only works for women. They tried putting a man's photo in there, and it gave him a vagina. And so its only purpose is to expose women without their permission. It only takes one photo, so that's what really differentiates it from the deepfakes. Deepfakes, you need a lot of data to put in order to create the videos. This makes it so that anybody can, mass produce nude images without consent. Anyway, it was up for about a day after the story went up, and then he decided to, quote unquote, shut it down because of the harm that it was causing. He was charging $50 for the app, and it had been downloaded over, I believe it was around 10,000 times.
Wow, that's a very big amount.
Yes. So basically, he made $500,000 in a day and ran.
Yep.
And I haven't downloaded because I wanted to download it, not because I want to see nudes, but just to want to see how accurate it is. Because even though if it wouldn't be accurate, it could still really, really harm people. And I think it is really weird you're targeting you're releasing your initial to quote unquote only see women. So that says something about the tool. And I think the people in the background running the tool, also making it exclusive and paid, initially made me think it was a scam. Just grab as much money and just run. But I would really like to speak to someone who actually got his or her hands on the actual tool and tell me how it works, because then I can understand the risk, or also we can maybe ask other people we know to make algorithms to detect if this is a fake generated picture, to at least, if someone becomes a victim of it, tell, this is not an actual nude picture of that woman or girl.
I want to interject as well that wasn't it also something where people who weren't paying for it could get the full version? I thought I saw something on Twitter about that as well.
Correct. Yeah, so there was two versions. There was the premium version, and then there was the free version. And the premium version still had the watermark, and he was very explicit about saying that it was, even if you pay for it, it still had the watermark on there. But I think there was a free, community version on there as well. There
was. The watermark would take up the entire photo. So there was no cropping it out. In the premium version, the watermark was up in the corner. I did get to play with both. In order to see, before the article came out, I was quoted in a lot of them, and in order to see, I was, given access to it. I will say that it's not perfect. That's for sure. Especially, it's not the person's body. That much is clear, especially. This is one of the things where it's really nice to have a whole bunch of tattoos. Because they can't replicate that. It can't make that up.
Give me excuses. I'm going to go do it.
Right. Here, save yourself from getting deep nuded. Go get tattooed.
Nice.
but it also, there were lines where bras were, like bra straps. You could see, that sort of thing. And it wasn't, every picture was generic. Everything that we saw, for me, I saw the same set of breasts. They weren't, there wasn't any variation between nipples or anything like that. It was literally the same body on different people.
So it's just copy paste stuff basically for that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. So it would be relatively easy to pick that up and create, something that could counter that. I mean, even just getting a copy of, I know this sounds weird, but the nipple would be the unique factor.
Yeah.
That same nipple, anytime it's been used, that's a fake.
Yeah. But still, it was really worrying just because we all know these apps are out there and we all know sex sells. But when we talked about the deep fakes and the deep nudes, this was literally the next step. We all were anticipating, and now it's out there. This is the first step in this new world where people cannot hide anymore because there will be AI to prevent you hiding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. No, it's yeah. I don't know. It's the gross dystopian future that we never thought was kind of coming, but now with a lot of the deep fake technologies and the AI machine learning, even like the synthesizing voices, a lot of this stuff is going to get turned into like weaponized type things. You're going to take this offline. It's going to be a ransomware thing for someone. Just like they used to SE people back in the day on Facebook, where malicious hackers would go through and ask for nudes and things like that, and then screenshot them and then be like, okay, now you got to pay me $100,000 and I'm going to share it with all your friends and things like that. Well, now they don't have to go through and SE that stuff. Now they can just go through and create that and then go through and just literally, make it a ransomware attack out of it and just say, hey, this is the extortion part. We've got, all this stuff. We don't care that it's not you, but hey, somebody will. Mm-hmm. So. It's,
I think we gave them enough of a platform on our platform now.
100%. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to go through and say was it was odd because at that point, they had that, and then it was the site went down, and then the Reddit went private, which was also odd. So, okay. So that is all of the news that we've really got to go through. Before we get into more of the interview questions, I did want to give a shout out to Sands and Hunchley. They have both very generously been able to go through and give us some sponsorship. So some of the stuff that happens here cannot happen without people like Justin Sykes and the board over at Sands. So we just want to go through and give them a very gracious head bow. Thank you for everything they've done. And we continue to work with them and other people to go through and make sure that all this stuff is possible. So thank you for all that stuff. So we do have some questions. Katelyn, is it okay to talk a little bit more specifically about Badass Army and what you guys do and all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, I'll kind of get into some of the stuff. So we have, the basics. Obviously you've been kind of following along with our stuff, and we've been definitely following along with a lot of the stuff you've been putting on Twitter. How did you get into OSINT? What made that leap for you?
I think the first moment, and I posted a long thread about this, was shortly before, starting Badass and all of that, my purse got stolen. And it was stolen by a couple. And the girl, she was a little nondescript, but the guy had a machine gun tattooed across his face. I live in a relatively small town, and I said, I bet I could find him. Yep. The cops weren't really doing anything. And you know what? I just started going through on social, and I found him. I'd always been really good at finding things online. I had no idea it was even, a thing to do that. I just thought, I was really good at Googling.
Right.
And, once I started Badass, I was like, hey, I'm going to hunt down, people's posters. And I started doing that. And I would go through and, find the victims so I can reach out to them and get them involved in our cause and help them fight back. So I was doing OSINT for, good, finding good people and finding the bad guys. And I just got, better and better at it, found different ways, found more people. And then eventually somebody's like, so you're into OSINT? I'm like, no. I'm like, what is OSINT? I don't know what that is. They're like, no, you are. You just don't know this. I'm brand new to the tech world, didn't know it was a word, so.
There you go. No, that works. Let's see. Go ahead,
So,
Dutch.
your background isn't in IT at all, or is it in IT?
No, I was a bartender 2 years ago. I can make you the meanest Long Island you'll ever drink in your life. But yeah, it's definitely not in IT. I've been doing nothing but playing catch up. I don't have degrees. I don't have, certs. I just kind of learned as I went along. And I'm still learning that, I know way more than I thought I did.
I think Nico would tell you it's a mindset, and some people are born with it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you. Can you tell me a little bit on what Badass intentions are? Badass as a group?
Yes. Well, Badass is a coalition of victims of people who revenge porn is the common term for it, but really it's image-based abuse, NCP, non-consensual pornography. It's people who've had their images leaked without their consent, either publicly or privately, and our intentions are to eradicate that. Whether it's, we have 4 different ways that we do that. It's legislation. We work on creating stronger laws to deter people from sharing news without consent. We have gotten one in place in the state of Ohio, and we are working toward a federal one with Representative Jackie Spear, and we have CCRI and, other organizations helping out with that as well. And so we have legislation, we have education, talking to teens about, sexting safely, teaching them, what the laws are and what the consequences are, and kind of displaying those consequences as somebody that has experienced them, as well as talking to the public about this, because they hear the words revenge porn and they assume it's something that it's not necessarily what it's about. The second one is, the second E is empowerment, working, with victims to have them start speaking out, to add their skill sets to what we're doing, whether it's OSINT. Some people are better at advocacy or, social work. We do that. And then tech, whether it's development, working with hackers, and teaching, like police, they don't know about these platforms. They don't know about these crimes. So we're doing a little bit of everything. Anything that you can imagine messing with revenge porn, we're trying to do it, and we just want to end it.
And really interesting, and I have very much respect for what you guys are doing. But when you speak of we, how large is this group?
We have about 2,000 active members.
Oh, wow.
Whether it's through, we have several different methods that we use to connect. And there are currently 8 of us that, run everything, plus 2, I guess, junior admins as well. So we've got 10 of us total running everything, and we're just rushing to catch up with how fast this has grown.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And this is now your full-time job?
Yes.
Wow. Respect for that. Wow. You've got a lot on your hands then.
60 to 70 hours a week as of, right now. I am looking for, I'm finally starting to apply for jobs in IT. So I might have to cut down, but we're just, we've built a really great team. So.
Yeah. And well, I was looking at the timeline, especially when I think it was 2 weeks ago. There was a kind of a momentum where some people were like, well, I don't know if the right word is, were bashing you on, you were trying to get to Black Hat or DEF CON, if I'm right, and they were saying like, well, you're using the Badass and the whole idea to get there for free.
Yeah, what we did was we started a campaign called, I'm not sure, am I allowed to say, what am I allowed to say on this podcast?
Oh yeah, no, we're good. Everything,
okay.
Yeah, it's, we should be fine.
Just making sure.
I got you.
A campaign called Tits for DEF CON. Several of us have won scholarships through WISP.org or other organizations to get there, and we are a nonprofit, so none of us make any money to pay for it on our own. So Kelsey came up with this crazy idea. She goes, I'm just going to sell news. Now, mind you, we are all victims of revenge porn. These pictures are out there already without our consent, that people have made money off of them. So we said, you know, it's out there. If we're comfortable enough with it, and Kelsey, you know, obviously she was, then might as well, you know, sell nudes, sell them, get my piece of the pie. Well, we kind of pushed her into, you know, we kind of created a trolling thing where nobody knows if we actually gave them nudes or not, you know, unless they actually participated. And even then, it's probably not what you think it is. So we kind of, you know, just got a lot of attention for it, and we started a lot of conversations about consent and agency and, you know, what is revenge porn versus what is, you know, consensual.
Yeah.
And people just don't, if there's something with boobs on the internet, people are going to have an opinion.
Yeah, well, they will, yeah. I found it really interesting, people falling all over you guys because you were doing that. And I was like, well, you're open, transparent, and honest about it, so I don't see the problem with it if people are willing to chip in when you guys are doing it. Well, it's your bodies, it's your life, you decide, right?
Exactly. It's all about agency and someone, you know, making their own decisions about their body and their image online. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I will got a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, no, if you want to add into this, so do that first.
Sure. What I was going to say is I do want to say thank you for when this kind of all was going around, you actually put a tweet out saying, hey, if you're going to go through and donate, you're going to get us to DEF CON or Black Hat or whatever, because I know you guys are speaking at Black Hat as well, I think, correct?
No, we are speaking at DEF CON
Is it
now.
DEF CON? Okay.
I'm not officially speaking. I just found out that there is a big leap from saying I'm not speaking on the main stage. I am speaking at the Crypto Village, and we have a meetup focused on cyber security with Allison Falk from Sex Tech Space, and then Laura DiCarlo, who creates sex toys, IoT things. She's a robotics.
There were some people who were trolling even the donation people, and so you would actually comment and said, hey, if you're going to donate, we appreciate all that stuff, and make sure you're donating anonymously. And I know that you guys having the mind, sound, and body to go through and do this, we're already knowing you're going to absorb some hate for some trolls or whatever, but I thought it was very classy of you guys to go through and say, hey, if you're going to continue to go through and donate, make sure you do it anonymously, because other people are going to lash out at you. So protecting the people who are helping you is really like a very big thing, and that was very commendable. I wanted to put that out there.
Oh, thank you. I mean, of course, these people are donating, they're helping us. The last thing in the world we want to do is encourage anyone else to be harassed.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Just more fuel for the fire for the trolls, and you don't feed the trolls. So yeah, no, the ability and maybe even not knowing that when they logged into a GoFundMe space like that or whatever, they were going to do that, but marking it as anonymous was very helpful for not only you guys, but also for them to make sure that the strength was still there, but you know, wasn't so much of the hate.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add in a question from one of our viewers, Ginger T? He asks, Katelyn, how do you find the experience of referring to victims to law enforcement?
A lot of times I end up, you know, kind of, if they're local, I'll go with them. If not, I encourage them to reference me, and I will talk the police through. I've found that a lot of police are really just behind when it comes to the training needed to collect evidence and to do the legwork behind the investigation. So, you know, one of my things that I want to do is, you know, help them out and teach them. That way they can, you know, effectively prosecute this a little better.
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, really. And then we have another question by an anonymous attendee. What if one finds a porn sharing group? What do you do to monitor these groups?
Like, say a Discord, because we've come across that quite a bit, where people will create private Discords, and we're in those. There are a lot of us out there. There's usually somebody in there that is going through notifying victims, identifying the users that are in there, and you know, shutting it down, whether it's reporting to Discord or giving victims a chance to go to the police before we shut it down and the evidence is lost.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because evidence, you won't want to have evidence lost. Do you use like tools like Huntsley, one of our sponsors of the show? Do you use those tools to preserve the data?
I do. Hunchly has been amazing. That's a newer one that I haven't actually gotten to use with Discord, so I'm not quite sure how that works, but I will see. But I have started using Hunchly, and I highly recommend it, because before that, I had 500 tabs open.
Yep.
Yeah, but I can only imagine there are more and more app-based tools, which you also, I think, for instance, Snapchat could be, well, I'm filling this in, could be a source where you guys will be looking, because those messages disappear really quickly. Is this all these kind of chat groups, or are there specific platforms or websites that really stand out for you?
There are currently around a dozen ClearNet websites that are dedicated solely to sharing images without consent.
Oh, wow.
Not solely, but at least, it's one of the focuses. I mean, I'm including, the Chans on there as well.
Okay.
But there are some that are just for it. They divide us up sluts by state, and you can literally find girls from whatever hometown you're from, and it's easy. And that's the whole point, is to do it without their consent and without their knowledge. And one of the things we like to do is make sure that they know at the very least.
But how do you verify the information that comes in? For instance, if someone says, well, you have to look at that Discord because I'm on there, or my niece is on there, or my nephew is on there, how do you verify pieces of information?
Well, we would often go into that Discord and take a look and see what information we can get. We don't want to recommend people contacting us because their friends are on there. We prefer the actual victim. That's usually how we verify, is we actually have connections to the victim. That's where most cases fall apart. The victims don't want to cooperate. And we kind of help, alleviate that a little bit.
Yeah, but and in your team, because you also say you have a team of 2,000 people helping the Badass Army. How do you vet the team members? Is there a vetting process to make sure you can trust everyone within the group?
Yes, there is. We have to verify their identity. We speak with them. We have our own verification process. Kind of don't want to let it out there.
No, I can understand, but there is a process to get into the Badass Army group.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, nobody just gets in. You can't just create a sock and join.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there is a process, and we're very strict about our rules, and they are vetted. And if we suspect anything, they're vetted even higher.
Yeah. Another question. Well, you found out you were doing open source intelligence, OSINT. Is there something, because I really like to ask that question, we almost ask every guest that, you want to learn something specific within the OSINT field that you don't own that good or want to get better at?
There's a lot of tools out there that I have yet to really try. And, what is it? LexisNexis? I want to try. Is that it? I think
LexisNexis. Yeah.
There is LexisNexis. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to start using that. It's something I haven't had the opportunity to, really get into, and that's something I do want to learn.
Let me suggest a person for you to get in contact with then, Cynthia Hetherington.
Okay.
She is the queen of all public information.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you message me that name, because I'm terrible at names? Because
I will. I'll actually connect you on Twitter.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I would love to absolutely connect with anybody that can help. We do take volunteers and all that stuff.
LexisNexis is a wealth of information. They do limit a lot of what you have access to unless you're a specific group. So if you're an insurance company, they'll give you that stuff. If you're a private investigator or you have a private investigator's license, they'll allow you to go through and do that stuff. If you're with a collection firm or debt recovery, they'll let you go through and do that. If you're LEO, they open it up. If you're military, they open it up. So there are some things you have to navigate with LexisNexis or Accurant or IntelliSource, which is, I think, a lot of the reason why we in the OSINT community kind of use the open source tools that are either made, a lot of the scripts on GitHub and stuff, just because the same access of information there, they're just data harvesting it. But they put a lot of paywalls up for a lot of that stuff. So it is 100% worth it if you have a use case and the budget for it. But LexisNexis is something that they really do try to lock a lot of the user rights down depending upon your classification stuff. So it's really fun. I have access to it, but it's not something that they just let everybody go wild with it. And in fact, they audit monthly to make sure that they're not repeatedly having searches for celebrities or football players or anything else like that. And they'll ban instances really, really quick for that stuff. So that's one thing to know. But yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
They should be doing that. That's good to know. It's not going to be used inappropriately.
Oh, it is, but yeah, they try to catch it. Yeah.
At least we try. Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. Because you guys are dealing a lot with harassment or arrest victims, at least. When you gave them tips, what are one or two of the best tips you can give people for operational security or just dealing with this subject in general?
One of the biggest ones that is where I messed up personally is when looking to share images with somebody, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. That is your body. You should be able to. You kind of want to look at their security. It's not yours necessarily that you have to worry about that. It's theirs. I made the mistake of sending him to an ex-boyfriend who I knew didn't use a passcode on his phone. Duh.
Yeah.
So it's not only just a matter of trust. It's also a matter of, are they going to protect your data better than they're protecting their own? That's a big one. And then the other one, we recommend when it comes down to this is, just use basic social media OPSEC. Learn how to lock your profile down and Google yourself. See what is out there. See what you can get rid of. And we have walkthroughs for pretty much anything people want to get down. So
Okay, I have a question that's kind of steps away from the technical part of this. So what do you tell your victims after they've lost some information that there's revenge porn on them? Is there some like non-technical advice you give them for dealing with the mental anguish on this?
I encourage them to reach out to other victims. They are in a group now with 2,000 of them. I'm sure they can find somebody that understands where they're coming from.
Okay.
We really do encourage peer support. We also, look for things like PTSD, and we do have people in there that, are a lot more knowledgeable on the mental health side that can, give them referrals to psychiatrists or therapists when they need it. So
Awesome. Thank you.
no problem.
So I've got I've got three questions. One's coming from the audience here from some dev. He says, maybe we could build a crawler that crawls porn websites to find and report videos tagged with tags that are commonly found in leak/revenge porn. The crawler could be run by volunteers on your servers. Is that something you guys would be interested in?
We have something similar to that.
Okay.
As it is, we do have, crawlers in certain websites that we happen to know are shared. That creates a notification system. Anytime text comes up, the victim's input, it's Google alerts, but for but the tags idea, that is something different and something, we would definitely be interested in.
Nice. Okay. We can see if we can
Good at that, because Sundev is like he has his own Git. He's a pro on GitHub, and he makes a lot of cool tools,
Awesome.
a lot of OSINT people tools. So you should definitely connect to him. He's an inspirational guy.
I'm excited. Thank you for even thinking of that. Thank
Sure.
you for offering. Thank you.
That's why the community's out there. The second question is I'm going to ask this, and I know that probably 90% of this is focused more towards females and stuff, but have you run across a lot of male revenge porn type stuff or anything else that's been reached out?
Absolutely. This is a really big growing problem within the LGBT community. And so we have had a lot of that, and the dangers along with, having their images shared is they could be outed. And the harassment tends to be way worse. So we have, seen quite a few victims of, every gender from there. But one thing that we deal with a lot, and then we just started discussing this more and more, is the blackmailing schemes, the phishing schemes. And that is targeted toward men. It is a fake profile. You'll talk to her. She'll turn it to the video chat. And then halfway through the video chat, you find out you've been speaking to a computer. They pull it away, the monitor, and it's not who you thought it was.
Right.
You're talking to a pre-recorded video. So it's, we've seen people get paid, get taken for over $60,000 sometimes. and those sorts of things. And yeah, that's incredibly traumatic for anyone. Doesn't matter.
Sure. Sure. I didn't, yeah. Well, I thought I wanted to ask because I know that a lot of this has been focused more in regards to the female, and I'm sure the overwhelming majority of that stuff, whatever it is, and I think that especially as a lot of us are dumb males who are very stubborn and, you know, don't want help in regards to some things, whatever, I think that there's still a value in putting that out there, because there are people who need to know that it's okay to go through and ask for help, and know that it's not just happening to a specific one set of people, whatever, it's happening to everyone. And like you said, the phishing, you know, the ransomware attack, the exploitation, whatever, is super easy when you have someone who is like that and is way more apt to go through and pay versus you know, turning that in or having the embarrassment of that type of thing being known. So
I had a case, and I kind of put it in chat, but I've had a male victim case where the girl, ex-girlfriend maybe, something like that, she was actually posing as him on Snapchat and sending his photos to younger girls.
Oh, wow.
Trying to get him in trouble.
That's insane. It's something. It's not unheard of. Nothing surprises me anymore, but it's insane the things that people do to each other after breakups, honestly.
Sure. All right,
Crazy world.
One last question, and this goes back towards more of the investigation side. So when you guys are on Discord servers, or if there's something else that you guys are populating, when you find the videos or pictures or whatever has been uploaded, sometimes they're usually tagged by an uploaded by, and they'll give you a username. Have you guys gone through and walked that back? Are you guys trying to go and meet from, you know, the digital space into the meat space type stuff, whatever? Like, is that something that you guys actively pursue? Do you leave that to law enforcement and just say, hey, this is this? Or how far do you get into that stuff?
You know what? That's my hobby, actually,
Yeah.
is going into these Discord servers, and just, we have a list going, and that's for our own purposes. You know, where we see, you know, a pattern, we know that, you know, we've uncovered so many screen names. This list is incredibly long. It's longer than our list of victims. And, you know, that's kind of just there. We're not doing anything with it. It's mostly just to make sure that we're being safe. And,
Sure.
but yeah, no, that's my favorite thing in the world to do, is go through and identify the people behind the usernames. Because if you take away the anonymity, you know, it's really ironic. They hate being exposed.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
Weird. How
Right?
people, yeah, people can go through and do that to one, and then when it turns around to them, and they're like, whoa, I'm the victim again. So, yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Yep, just wanted to make sure we were asking that. Okay. Let's see. I think that's a lot of the questions. Do you have a case that you're most proud of? Anything else going kind of out on top?
I just want to say, watch my news feed next month. Just leaving it at that.
Okay.
Real proud of that one. But we do have, you know, I've gotten quite a few arrests I've assisted with. One of my favorites was I was able to identify a bad guy in a police investigation that was used in court because he posted on a Minecraft server 6 years ago using the same username, and he talked about his boat. And I was able to identify the boat and trace it back to him and his father, and was able to create a very direct line between the username and that person. And it brought down a whole circle of guys that have been sharing images of one specific underage girl.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I like finding the weirdest ways possibly that I can tie it together.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah, going back into history is the best, because you got somebody who's got good OPSEC, but they didn't always have good OPSEC. And even if you can't figure out who they were in history, I always find it's their friend. So you have a guy who's got good OPSEC, you find a friend, you follow the friend back into history, and then you find the other guy again and go.
Oh, yeah. It's always, you know, a couple dudes sharing pictures between each other. And then it also, you know, it's also helpful to know the psychology behind these posters. A lot of them do add their victims on Facebook. That way they can see the new updated photos.
Wow.
And things like that. So, you know, not 90% of the time you're going to find a victim's poster just by going through their friends. And that's when that list comes in handy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, really interesting. I I think I knew something about the Badass Army, but you guys are even more awesome than I initially thought. Well, respect for that.
Thank you.
Oh, huge thing. I really appreciate you coming out and talking, because a lot of this stuff kind of gets buried. So it's very, very refreshing to be able to talk about this stuff and what you guys are doing and how you guys are thwarting it as we go more into kind of the online digital age stuff, whatever. People are growing up where they didn't even know that internet didn't exist. And so taking pictures and selfies and, you know, all these visual facing apps are going to continue to go through and populate through all of our stuff, and it's nice to know that there are guardians out there who are going to help protect and like wean people towards, you know, the OPSEC, the security, the end-to-end communication, encryption, things like that. So it's very nice. So yeah, we are running a little bit long, so I just have a couple more things in regards to some questions from some listeners. Let's see here. We have a submission from Bill. Says, hi all, just wanted to making my way through the webisodes, and I'm absolutely loving the content. Thank you, Bill. Number 4 is on the deck. I don't know which one that was, but I'm sure it was awesome. Ideas, topics, and tips. Maybe during some of the episodes you could talk about specific industries like healthcare, banking, finance, retail, manufacturing, and different approaches you have for information gathering and data for investigation. How does human behavior help OSINT? Legal issues, hurdles OSINTers face. I do have a question on the professional development side. Are there any certificates specific to OSINT that are reputable and recognized? Keep up the great work. So thank you, Bill, for the question, and I will open that up to the panel. I know we have one specific thing, maybe from SANS or whatever, that is going to move towards a certificate, but is really just an awesome training course right now. Dutch?
Yeah, it's run by that crazy Micah guy. I don't know if we believe in him or not.
No, we fired him.
I run it every now and then also, but I know they're in the process. The SEC 487 from SANS, the Advanced OSINT and Analysis course, it will be GX certified eventually, but it just takes time. But still, I think it's a really valuable course. And people, I know a lot of government and bodies, well, they set their arrows towards SANS or Intel techniques, because when you follow his course, you will also get a certificate, at least a certificate of completion. And, well, for a lot of companies, that adds a lot of value to the followed course. But I think there are a lot more. Torrington out there, you have Rosers, you have Plessas Network. I think they're all pretty decent. The International Anti-Crime Academy, for instance, and Aware Online, they're all out there, and each and every one has certificates. Some are recognized only within a specific country or the EU, so you have to look between the lines and read the small letters in the Q&A and legal to see how far it stretches for legal, the document. But I think the vast majority are certified ish. I've never until now I've never come across like a really graduate certificate OSINT specific yet.
I know there are some college level courses that are kind of off of like computer science that are for more on the military side for intelligence gathering and things like that, but they are for civilian use. Like you can go through and take those. I don't remember which colleges, but I will see if I can try to get some of that stuff. And if you're interested in, you know, OSINT as a college aptitude thing, whatever, then that there's, I think there's some online courses you can take through specific colleges for some of that stuff.
Look for intelligence studies. So coming from that background, I'll tell you right now that there are some called the Centers of Excellence for Intelligence Studies, things like CMU, and there's a bunch of different schools that are labeled as such. That's probably
Absolutely. Where. So it also depends in regards to the certificates, what you are looking to get into. So InfoSec is littered with all these certificates. DIFR has been kind of one of the standards in regards to digital forensics and incident response. A lot of that stuff, whatever, can translate over to OSINT type investigations, depending upon which side you're on. So there are some people that used to go through and hire for DIFR certificates and things like that, and then use that as kind of the OSINT background. I would say that there's a portion of OSINT in all pen testing apps and things like that for the certified ethical hacker or any of the SANS and the other certificates and stuff. So I don't know that there's a specific OSINT certificate, but there are other ones that you can kind of pivot off of. So if you look around, you'll see some of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, anything else like that?
No.
We got 4 questions. So one of the other ones from Twitter here is from, and I know her specifically, she's out in Kansas City with me, is Brittany I can't say her last name, I'm sorry. And she had a question, how to find OSINT mentors for self-educated adults. So if you are in the security space, or even if you're in the bartending space and you want to go through and kind of find out more about OSINT, is there a good way for people to go through and seek out mentors?
Well, I think first of all, they should self-educate just by reading our blogs, for instance, but also looking at listening to the podcasts from Bazel or other podcasts like Reply for All. They do pieces of open source intelligence within there. You have Matthias Wilson, he was on here recently blogging. Nick's Intel, he's blogging. So there are a lot of platforms out there where you can self-educate. You have Krebs, for instance. Also, you can't, but you have to keep in mind that you can't learn it all. So you have to choose which you want to be best in at first, or maybe you want to first learn how to look at the world through open source intelligence glasses, for instance. And well, I think the community we hang out in are all people who are willing to help out. So just shoot a DM, join the webcast, or email us and ask your question. Not saying that you will get an immediately an answer, because we all have busy lives, but I'm pretty sure all of us in here are willing to help if you have a question or you need some help or some pointers. No problem at all.
Technisette sector, you guys have any follow-up on that? So if someone was to come to reach out to someone for an OSINT mentorship or ask a question, what's one of the best ways that they could go through and reach out to, or what would you do in that situation if you were trying to learn something? How would you guys go through and reach out for a mentorship type thing?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to go against Dutch because he knows too much. No, he's absolutely right. A lot of people have been following things like Twitter, blogs, webcasts, podcasts, and there is so much information out there since about a year and a half already. And Michael Bazel has been doing it even longer, and there's so much out there. Just go on, read up on stuff, make sure that if it concerns specific tools or specific websites, that not everything works the same way as it used to like 2 years ago. So if you read an older blog about Facebook, it's going to be problematic nowadays. But a lot of things are the same. Just read up on it. And what I find most interesting is not so much the tools or where you find stuff, but how people find stuff. Last webcast, Nick's Intel was there. I missed it, and I'm still bugged about it. He is really good in analyzing things and explaining how to analyze information to use that to leverage that information to get closer to your answer faster. So it's also the mindset and the techniques that you use. That's one thing that you really have to pay attention to.
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in right here. So I actually added this question to the list, and it was more, I mean, the self-education part is important, but it was more of a question of how do they find a mentor, a specific person mentor, if they're not like in a university setting or something like that. So my own advice would be ask someone. All you can do is ask. You know, if you find somebody that you admire, just ask them. They could say no, okay, then you can go to the next person. And don't take that no personally. Maybe they're just too busy, but
I have had DMs for, I think, for close to a year now, and I try to answer each and every one as best as I can. Sometimes I send them to other people because I don't know all the answers myself. So, but my DMs are open. You can also tag me publicly. People know where to find me. Sector 035. Just Google it and you'll find me.
Yeah, I completely agree with everybody who had put some input in the answering this question. For me personally, I do get some DMs from people asking me if I can help them out or mentor them in any way. If I can help you on a specific topic, you're always free to ask me. And the good thing about the OSINT community is that if I don't know the answer, I might know somebody else who can help you out, or we can try to put it in the webcast or write a blog about it. So I think if you're looking for help or mentorship, don't be afraid to ask, just like Kirby said.
Agreed. I get a lot of people that ask me the same thing. And honestly, I'm not comfortable enough. I don't know what I'm doing.
Aren't we all?
I always feel like I'm not comfortable enough to teach someone else. But I know people that do. I'm always happy to help hook someone up. And one bit of advice that helped me when I got stuck before is, OSINTers are often looking for other OSINTers. Use the hashtags. Use social media. Just put it out there. Hey, I want to learn, hashtag OSINT. And I bet you somebody that you don't know is going to respond and be like, okay, let's go.
Yep. I actually constantly do that on Twitter. I'll see people who's like, I'm just getting into OSINT. I don't know how to go through and start, and I will either just tag them and other stuff, or I'll ask them what they're looking at. Or I think there was a Twitter account yesterday. I think it was like Tokyo V2 or something, and they had followed me, and then they were just putting something out in the universe, and they were like, "How do I begin?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's such a ubiquitous question. Like, what are you focusing on? Trying to get conversations going, because once you have a Twitter feed kind of going where you can have other people jump in, it's one of those things where then the other people who are willing to go through and talk, at least in a conversational tone, about OSINT, and then following those people, and then even DM them and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this Python script, or hey, I'm having a problem with this. Building rapport with people is very easy, I think, with most of the people in OSINT, especially people like us who are willing to get out and start talking about stuff. So yeah, that's one thing, is look at the people who are vocal, and that may be a way to go through and help get to the mentorship. And even if you don't know that they can help you, like you said, I think everyone else is saying it too, there's someone that maybe they'll point you to. The other thing I would say in the mentorship stuff is OSINT is very, very big in the information security world. Look at your local meetups. There are not a lot of specific OSINT meetups. We do have one in Kansas City that I'm starting. But there are a lot of InfoSec hacker groups and stuff like that will know how to play with a lot more of that stuff than maybe you do. And attending your local groups may get you in a community where it's a little more comfortable to go through and work with that stuff as well. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have something. The very last thing was submitted. Sent in by Security Ward. Does anybody know about this one? PatientsLikeMe.com, patient search.
Right, I added that in because it was tagged on.
OSINTCurious.
And it looks like it's kind of like an opt-in patient thing. So maybe it's communications between patients, but there's something like 18,000 people who have already opted in.
Wow.
So, and you can apparently, I don't know. That doesn't sound. I haven't gone too deep in it. Again, it was tagged, but if you go through our Twitter feed, you can actually click into that link and again, it's just go to Twitter, search OSINTCurious as the hashtag.
Yeah, and then be curious, right?
And then be curious. Click all the shit, right, Dutch?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that is about it for questions. And I know, like I said, we've taken up almost an hour and a half of everybody's time. So I will go through and start closing it out here. Again, really want to give a big shout out to the Badass Army. We really appreciate coming on and talking about this stuff. This is something that I think needs to go through and be expressed. So thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you guys for having me. I love the podcast. I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go around and we're going to do our self-promotions, our shameless plugs, our where can you find us type stuff. Anybody want to go through and start? Kirby, I think you kind of are top of the list there.
I think Badass should start.
There you go. That's true. Absolutely.
That's your first name to me is Badass now.
Where can we find you? What can we do? How can people help?
All right. You can always find us at our website, www.badassarmy.org. You can follow us on Twitter at @thebadass_army. We will see a lot of you out there that will be watching this. We'll see you at DEF CON. We have 2 speaking engagements going on there in both Crypto Village and as well as in the Sin City room of Planet Hollywood for the Cyber Security. I don't know. We got lots going on. It's hard to remember what all is happening, but those are the big plugs.
Well, let us know what you do have, and we'll be happy to go through and put it on our events page. So anybody who's cruising our stuff, we have some events that are OSINT specific, and we'd be happy to go through and put some of that stuff out there as well.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I will let you know as I think of them, because those are the 2 coming top of my head. I know we're going to be at DerbyCon as well.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. May I want to take one big promotion thing? Everyone in the OSINT.team Rocket Chat group, be aware that on the 13th of July there will be a system update, and you'll need to log in with a fresh, new, clean account. If you need to preserve data, do it before the 13th, because after that all will be lost. It was necessary for security reasons and for future updates. So the OSINT team people, 13th of July, a major update.
Yep. And make sure that you are either logging in via, because they're going to take away email logins. So it's going to be single sign-on through either GitHub or Twitter. So get your SOC Puppet account up now so that you can log in later.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps it up about for now. Take a look at our website, OSINTCurious. We have some new blog posts up on there, Dial Curl.
Well, I think we still have some shameless promotion. I know Gins probably has a few things.
No, not really. I'm like I said, the OSINT.team stuff. Sec KC if you're out in Kansas City. If you are out in Kansas City, we are doing a monthly OSINT meetup group called INTKC or INTKC. It's specific to OSINT, but it's slow going. So yeah, we'll keep on that stuff. But yeah, go ahead. What do you got, Kirby?
Well, I still have a few openings left in our Dallas, Texas class. It's middle of July. And then, of course, if you are law enforcement and you're listening or watching this, you can go to our plessas.net/events, and there's a lot of stuff for law enforcement. All the DEA/NDCAC FBI classes are open to all law enforcement.
Nice. That's
interesting.
awesome.
Didn't know that. Yeah. And for all Dutchies, next Friday there will be the Dutch OSINT Con version 2 still closed, and we hope to open it up for the general public after this one. So really excited.
This is going to be excited. I'm really looking forward to meet everybody there.
Yep.
How has that been going? Is it been a major turnout? This is invite only type right now, right?
Well,
yes.
Yeah. It's just because we were exploring it, right? And we're growing.
So last year we had one, which was about 30 people something, just getting to know one another. And
that's awesome.
We actually thought it was time to have a bit of a more structured program. So we have some talks, and then afterwards we do some pizza and drinks, and then, hopefully we'll open up for next year.
So did my invite get lost, or was that...
You're more than welcome to join.
Yeah. No. So next time we will. For now, it's people from mostly Belgium and the Netherlands, because it's doable from Belgium or France to come to the Netherlands.
And hell, the OSINT community in the Netherlands is booming, right?
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, you guys have always been kind of the tip of the spear in regards to a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah.
We like to take over the world.
World domination.
Okay, awesome.
So that's it for me.
Sector, what do you got going on, man?
Well, I've been extremely busy with organizing next week, actually, because people are going on holidays or change jobs. But no, that's pretty much all taken care of. I just had a very, very busy month. I've been doing paid projects. I got more stuff coming up later in the year. I probably have to say no to stuff, and it's very interesting. And I'm at a point in my life that I'm going to look around. Let's put it like this. So you're probably gonna see me somewhere else. If you work at my company, it might be that someday I'm not going to be there anymore.
Okay. Leaving it open and vague. Very mysterious. Thank you, Sector.
As usual.
As usual. All right. Well, from everybody here and all the participants, thank you for showing up and taking the time to come out and keep doing this OSINT thing that we keep doing. We really appreciate all the participants, all the panelists. And I will close it out by just saying stay OSINT curious, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.